welcome to the Macro Podcast, Bridging the Gap, Conversations Connecting Hawaii. I am Moses Kaoiwi Jr., and with me is Susie Vares-Lum, retired Major General from the U.S. Army. She served also in the U.S. Army Reserve and the Hawaii Army National Guard, all three components of the Army. And now she is the director of the Daniel K. Inouye Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies, also known as the DKI APCSS. She was born and raised in Hawaii, native Hawaiian. She joined the Army National Guard, like I stated, and also led intelligence operations for the Joint Intelligence Center for Base Defense Operations and Logistical Support Area Anaconda in Iraq back in 2005. She also served at the highest levels of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command and now leads one of the region's most important security education institutions, the APCSS, as we mentioned. So, Susie, could you talk about how you were born, raised in Hawaii, a family, and the military legacy that they have?
Well, first of all, thank you, Moses. Thank you for inviting me on this program. I'm really excited to share and be here because of the work that Macro does in bridging Hawaii and the military community. You know, both of us being from both areas, I think it's important. So, I am Keiki Okaina. I am from this place, born and raised in Wahiawa. My dad is from Maui and all of his family from Maui for many generations, and mixed plate like most people here in Hawaii. We're native Hawaiian, Portuguese, Chinese, Tahitian, English, everything. And he goes off and leaves Maui in 1961 and gets stationed in Japan where he met my mom. And after Vietnam, he came back home, settled in Wahiawa. So that's how we ended up there in Wahiawa. I was there with my two sisters. My other older sister also retired from the Air Force, following in the footsteps of my uncle, his brother, who also retired from the Air Force, and my other uncle who served in Korea after the Korean War. So he has so many stories that he shared about that. And my great uncles, my grandpa's brothers and my grandma's brothers all served also during World War II, mostly in the Pacific. So I do come from a family who has served and a family who's been rooted in this place for generations, and take these values of taking care of family, land, water, and also taking care of security of our family and our way of life.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, your father served in the Army. How did that influence you directly to decide to, one, join the Army Reserve and then make a career in the Army National Guard?
Growing up, I knew my dad served in Vietnam. I didn't know all the details. I didn't really realize till later that he was a surveyor from Japan. What I learned later was he was stationed in Japan, Camp Oji, Tachikawa Air Force Base, and he was there with my uncle, Roy, also a local boy. He just passed away from the Big Island. Uncle Roy Magno and my dad, Sergeant First Class retired, Vares, they called him Big V, Adelino Vares, and he was a surveyor. They'd take them to Guam. They would drop them off in the 60s, and then they'd get on a ship and they would survey the trust territories at that time, which was, today Federated States of Micronesia, Marshall Islands, and Palau. So he's all these pictures and a Stars and Stripes story of him being there. Island boy from Maui. They covered him because Island boy from Maui covers is surveying using the stars and mapping the islands. That's how they did it. So it just kind of reminded me of roots long ago, using stars in the sea to navigate as our ancestors did. So this connection, really powerful. But I saw that and how much pride my dad had in that. He was always proud. And then when he went into the National Guard, he finished out his long decades career in going into the National Guard and served with many of the people who were our mentors when we were in the Guard.
That's true.
So it was always around me. And so when I joined as a private in the Army Reserve at Fort Tarusi, incidentally, where DKI APCSS is. Full circle in that building. I was a private. I used to empty the trash cans in there. And now I'm leading as a director in that same building that Senator Inouye saw that this was a place to bring people together. So I'm my dad had a lot of influence, and the fact that my sister went in, and um, my my grandniece is now a Marine in Okinawa and went to Roosevelt High School. We have this legacy of service that was from my dad and my uncles and those who came before him.
Yeah. So many of us with Native Hawaiian ancestry, we have families who served like yours. And then, so what did you tell the kids of today, um, who, with everything going on about the military in Hawaii, but really want to join? What did you say to them based off of what's going on, as well as trying to reconcile their family history in the military and really want to join?
I know that there are a lot of conversations, and that's a great question because when people ask me why I serve, I think about the values that we grew up with, the Hawaiian values of protecting land, your way of life, people, security, and the way I see security. And it may not be in line with what everybody thinks, but I think security is of my family,
Mm-hmm.
the way of life, the values that we have. And so I don't see those as disparate. I see that as a part of
Complementary.
our ancestors
Yeah.
who had made sure that there was always there, and there was always courage involved in that, even from many, many generations, even come here using the stars in the sea,
Yeah.
to take care of family, to be able to defend your responsibilities, your kuleana.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that those things are in line, and that for me, and I can only speak for myself. I cannot speak for others
Sure.
from Hawaii or others. I speak from me and where I come from and what I'd see my dad, and how proud to be Hawaiian and proud to be in the service. And I have so many like yourself,
Yeah.
who have served and continue to serve.
Yeah. So part of that service that you did was the mobilization that occurred back in 2004,
Yeah.
where both of us actually ended up getting mobilized
Yep.
and then entered Iraq in 2005. Talk about how you felt during that time when this was occurring. I mean, for context, this was the global war on terror, the potential threats about what was occurring around the Middle East and the threats to the nation. So here we were, a National Guard unit, and for most who don't know, this was one of the biggest mobilizations for National Guard since World War II. And so, tell us about that, how what you were going through and the positions you had, and how that turned out.
No, well, first of all, it was an honor to serve with you. Yeah,
Same here. It was
really,
great. It was awesome.
was,
You're the best boss I had in deployment.
we were a team.
Very understanding.
We were a team. It was great, and I think about the 29th Infantry Brigade that is made up of local and from the Pacific, right? We were attached. 100-442, who incidentally was also part of the first mobilization in the 1960s. And 100-442, the historic unit, the most highly decorated unit of its size since World War II, made up primarily of Nisei veterans, and most recently, some of them just received their commission that did not get their commission. But American Samoa, Commonwealth of Northern Marianas, all of the islands, and here in Hawaii. So we were pretty much mostly Pacific Islanders, with the augmentation of others, of course, and of the 184 from California. But I think about that, and I think about when the first deployment, where 29 died from that first deployment, of the 29th Brigade. And I'm always amazed that number and the sacrifice, but they weren't together. We were together.
Yes.
And that was historic, that we all mobilized and were spread out by unit, though, across Iraq and Kuwait. So, and I think about the 18 that we lost, including Sergeant Jason Cariaga, who we both know very well, and his sacrifice, I think, and the sacrifice of his family, his parents, will never leave us, always will remain with us. When I think of people like him and his face, I can see his face. Roosevelt High School graduate, local boy, surfer boy, saying, "This is what I want to do," and I volunteer to do it. because I know it's right. Courage, integrity, everything that we ask of young people, and he did that.
Yeah.
He did it.
He did it. He also had a good spirit about him.
Yeah.
He was a volunteer guy. He would, when we ended up working with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations on the task force, he was willing to go, and he was out there up front, volunteering, doing what he had to do. He could work well with the Air Force guys. Normally, Air Force and Army, you got to get some growing pains to work together at that level.
Yeah, that's right.
And the joint level at the highest levels is pretty easy, but when you're down on the trenches in the ground, and most of us at that level never worked with another service before. You got to learn some of the characteristics of each service and the quirks, I guess, and a little bit of the culture. But we assimilated together real well, and partly because of Dason's personality and
Totally,
character.
100%.
Yeah, and I think it's because we're from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And everybody noticed that those from Hawaii get a little more heart with the people that they surround themselves with.
Yeah, a lot of powerful stories from that. And when I think about the mobilization, preparation, and training, even from World War II and till today, the need to train here and the connection with community. We were all mobilized at Schofield Barracks.
Yes.
And you asked a lot of local uncles and aunties, like, oh, World War II mobilization. We went to Schofield Barracks, and then we all went on a ship, or my dad, and then we all, you talk about Schofield Barracks, that is the place where ancient Hawaiian, our warriors would train.
Yeah.
Right?
Up at the
Lelehua.
Lelehua.
Yeah. And the hui ha'a that they receive from and are able to share with others is an honoring of those who were warriors that were trained. And today they're trained. But whenever we came through, our uncles who came through, dad came through, got on a ship, that's where we were.
Yeah.
So when we were in a quad and we were getting ready to mob and we got all our gear, my dad stopped by, and he was with his his truck. He stopped by, and he saw all my gear, and I saw on his face that moment, that realization, that because we didn't know, right? We didn't know what was going to happen, but he had remembered Vietnam. He remembered Vietnam era. That place was used too, pre-mob, move out.
Mm-hmm.
And so Schofield Barracks became a very special place about our own training. We've done many trainings so that we could protect our left and right brothers and sisters, that we could succeed in the mission that we needed to, that it saved lives. And I always remember something, even Pohakaloa, when we would train there, looking at the beautiful stars in the place, and not to say how beautiful and how you could connect with those who were there before, and and understanding, and I acknowledge all of the challenges and tensions that exist. But for me, and I have heard you actually have a beautiful Olela Hawaii poem that you created and about how, as an infantry ranger, that what you felt, the mana or the spiritual energy, and my interpretation of that, of those who came before us, and that responsibility, that always moved me, and I always remember that. But that also requires us to steward that land, right? Aloha Aina means steward the land, the place, the water, and that doesn't dismiss, that's security as well. So both coexist, taking care of that place. And I gotta say, I'm grateful for the amazing efforts that U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii has been doing to take care and steward those seeds and those plants and flora and fauna that could disappear if they didn't steward them. And I feel that understanding comes from these kind of communications, building bridges like Macro does today. So I just wanted to share that, because place makes a difference where we are and how it affects our readiness, our training, and our connections.
Yeah, I think for the audience out there, especially for us in the Hawaii National Guard, we see Puakaloa, especially those like you and I who trained there a lot, um, as a vahipana, as a sacred place, not necessarily in the same way as others may do, but we believe that is the place that built us, that created who we are as far as soldiers. The training we receive up there really prepared us to protect and protected us. What we learned from that type of environment, we took with us to wherever we went, especially during the deployments.
Yeah, and you felt that spirit of aloha even when we were deployed,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Remember the whole all those things. Ukulele, it would be
yes,
interesting to hear Iraqis say aloha, right?
yeah,
Just
yeah,
say Hawaiian words and get the spam musubi that somebody
yeah.
made and like okay, except no spam, but the rice and the nori.
I remember one time we took you out to the village of El Shahabi,
Oh yeah.
and for them it was a novelty to see a woman in uniform. Talk about that and how the children was following you around.
Yeah, it was because it was a novelty, but also access. They felt permission to do that, right? So when you go into a space,
Yeah,
permission, and in that culture, and I think being from Hawaii, we can understand. Here we are with cultures like Ken Hara would say beef stew, right? We're like
yeah,
beef stew. We don't melt in it. We each identify, and I think knowing that when we went there is that the culture there and religious um, rules that are in place
mhm,
is access for girls and children with men, right? So that barrier was there. So having a wahine come into that space or woman gave them permission to be able to access.
yeah,
So that allowed us access.
yeah,
So I think that's where you started to get the female engagement team. So understanding the operational environment
mhm,
and now becoming an asset to that team where we started to quickly create female engagement
yeah,
teams out of drivers. Any volunteers?
yeah,
Remember that? And
yeah. I had someone on our team.
that's right.
Yeah,
And just to be able to get access, particularly with women who weren't, didn't want to
mhm.
come up to you, they'd
Oh
come
yeah,
up to the female
exactly.
on your team, right?
Yeah. So it offered us to, like you said, access to ensure that we knew what was going on and to assess the threats
Yeah.
and actually to make some friends actually.
Yes. Yes. Because the world's made up of
Yeah,
a whole of society, right? Everyone.
yeah. It was I learned a lot from Iraq. All of us did
Yeah, we did.
about the cultures. So at the APCSS, you're kind of like you're an educational institution. So from that, explain how the APCSS contributes to the strategic uh, framework around the Indo-Pacific, as well as with our partners and allies through your educational system.
Well, it's great to talk to an alum of the program yourself, who's been an I'm alum, and I never imagined that I would be directing there, and I'm so proud to continue this. 30 years ago, Senator Inouye said there needed to be a place after he went to the Marshall Center, which is another regional center in Germany, that brings together security practitioners. And what I mean by that, people who are um, from all military services in this region in the Indo-Pacific who are responsible for security. And it could be different levels of security, it could be the military security, diplomatic, economic, could be informational, cyberspace,
Hmm.
maritime, the
Yeah.
whole range, to come together from different countries and talk about different issues and then try to find solutions to them. So we're not a think tank. I like to say we're a do tank. We
Yeah.
try to bring people together to do something.
Yes.
I love that we're located here. He said it made sense. Even when you think about East West Center, it was established here because of where we are and
Hmm.
who we are in Hawaii, what we bring. Also, the Pacific Forum, which is a think tank. So you have a think tank here. I hear Admiral Paparo, who is the Indo-Pacific Command commander, talk about the three elements that are here: the Daniel K. Inouye Asia-Pacific Center, you have East West Center, and you have Pacific Forum, all together working and fitting different parts of the security, education, and understanding on different levels. So for 30 years, we've brought people together. We have 16,000 alumni worldwide.
Wow.
Most sitting in the Indo-Pacific, many Americans. So bringing together Americans, Asia and Pacific Islanders, can be some uniform folks all the way up to four-star diplomats, ambassadors. Many of them have become heads of state or senior ministerial leaders, chiefs of their service, chiefs of defense. And I was really grateful to be able to go and moderate the Chiefs of Defense Conference in Hawaiʻi, in Thailand, with Admiral Paparo. And there we were able to see many of our alum and senior enlisted leaders. So we're super proud. We're bringing senior enlisted leaders together from the region. So not just officers, but enlisted, who are the tip of the spear of most militaries. So we focus a lot on security, East-West Center, a little bit broader on various economic other issues, and then the whole span of Pacific Forum covers the span. So we have courses, workshops, publications that are available online for anybody to access. Super proud that this last Indo-Pacific orientation course, which was the one you went to, we had the first cohort of emergency management. So if you look at the latest National Defense Strategy, number one is defend the homeland. This is the 50th state, homeland. So we invited all the mayors to nominate folks, police, fire, emergency management, and they came last week. And we put them in the courses with the other 12 nations that were there, and created a cohort to look at, when we look at crisis response to any situation, security situation that may arise for us here. At this place, you have Indo-Pacific Command, all the components within a 6-mile radius on this island, requiring the critical infrastructure of gas, electricity, telecommunications, water. As you know, you and I have worked through this for many years, but letting people know and realize that, and so the emergency responders on all the islands, protecting our critical infrastructure, protecting our communities, have access and have ideas and understand the larger geopolitical challenges that sit in this region.
Yeah, so with that, for me, I believe Hawaii is the best place for that, especially with our culture and our relationships with the other nations. When other nations come here, how do they see Hawaii? You talk with these the personnel, and they're not only military. They're like you said, civilians, diplomats who work in the area of security, all trying to secure their own homeland. How does Hawaii help them? How is our culture and our the way we also interact with others help advance the purpose and the mission of the APCSS?
When we bring them in and when they come in, they see this place sitting in the middle of Fort DeRussy, right in Waikiki, in a very peaceful place where it used to be fish ponds there. And we explain, we have the Kuroda field that sits across us now. It's from Sergeant Kuroda, Medal of Honor from 10442. And they walk in, they see the flags, they feel the place. And we greet them in the courses with pu, welcoming them, and then oli, the chant to welcome them into the place, to talk about, the values that we have of malama, and working together as laulima. And the hall that we usually convene is called maluhia, this place of serene peace and rest. So we're welcoming them that this place is special. And every single one, no matter where I go, they will say, Hawaii was special. They will say aloha. I was in Sri Lanka and they're all, shaka. Like, you can go anywhere across Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands. And there you have it. And, so it's not just strategic location that we are sitting as the most isolated, populated place on the planet, but Hawaii, with our native Hawaiian values and the many cultures that have come here to create that beef stew that exists here, knowing how to work together, understanding each other's perspectives, there's no better place than Hawaii to be able to do that.
As foreign influence grows in Oceania, what should Hawaii's communities be paying closer attention to?
we sit, like I said, in a strategic location. We are so connected to our Pacific Island cousins. Hawaii, we see it here. You can see the connection, just like I mentioned about my dad,
Yeah.
going to the former trust territories or the COFA states.
Oh, yeah.
And you see so many of them here, and you see so many from South Pacific who are here. So we know that there's growing influence. Uh, China is certainly present in Oceania, and it can be great or not.
Yes.
And when it becomes a point where you lose your independence and it being able to assert yourself, whether it's ports or airports or infrastructure or debt that may be incurred by a country, we should be concerned about that for a variety of reasons, and not just it's security is one thing as well, but also the waters around it that feed those communities, the illegal, unregulated, underreported fishing that happens, the drug trafficking. As we're looking at defending the homeland, we're seeing that right now that affects the continent. So it's what's happening in the Pacific is not just affecting the Pacific, it's going to affect everybody in Asia and the continent. So we have an interest here to help Pacific Islands. And at the Asia Pacific Center, we have welcomed many leaders in security realm, whether it's for example, a cohort from Papua New Guinea who were here in Hawaii earlier in 2025 to look at how they can work together interagency to create a maritime fusion center.
Oh,
to
nice.
be able to understand what's happening in their borders.
Yeah.
As we talk about porous borders and wanting to secure those borders, that's the state of every country that wants to protect their borders.
Especially in these areas in Oceania.
Yes.
You get the smaller countries who can get infiltrated real easily.
Yes. And then become victimized from drugs that come into it. It's such a small population for that to infiltrate into their society, the breakdown of the society, and other challenges that come with it. And then, so the illegal, unregulated fishing, the illicit commerce that's coming through their large exclusive economic zones are of interest to the United States and also to their own countries, and especially here in Hawaii, because we see the impacts when we see our cousins that come and are impacted here.
Yeah, like for me, one of the concerns is the illegal regulated fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, we, our culture, Hawaiian culture, we is big on seafood, right? And I even tell everybody, when you watch the illegal, irregulated fishing that occurs, it's a massive net that takes up everything with no discrimination, and it with no stewardship practices of understanding. Like our culture, you take what you can eat, you leave the rest, and then you don't take certain things. Especially in fishing, there are certain times you fish for certain, uh, type of fish, but you're not gonna take certain fish in other types of seasons. That's how we in our culture grew up. But as it stands now, we have these unregulated fishing. I tell people is like, if you're concerned about the ahi prices now, wait till the ahi gets diminished because of the unregulated fishing in the Pacific.
Yes.
And the further this unregulated fishing is allowed to go deeper and closer to our borders, the more our food security is threatened. We already are concerned with food security. We have, in the state of Hawaii with everything. So, especially isolated. Now you're gonna create, based off of the influence that's occurring, a potential threat to our food security from the sea.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think even critical minerals that exists in the areas around, if they are not regulated on the exclusive economic zones, it's very easy to do research vessels that are conducting research for, type, future tsunami waves and putting buoys underneath so that you can understand the landscape on undersea landscape. Well, what does that mean for security?
Yeah,
What does that mean
exactly.
for the, as we're looking at the conversations, even with this national defense strategy on critical minerals, there's a
Mhm.
lot happening in that space, and that struggle for who has access to those critical minerals. And so that's many of the conversations that are happening in the Pacific and the Pacific Islands Forum, where they're looking at all these issues. And I think we have an interest in Hawaii. Hawaii was the place for the Pacific Islands, the festival, the
Mhm.
Pacific Festpac that happened, and bringing together, and there was such energy. And I hope that we can, you know, jump on the energy that happened on
Yeah.
showing the connection that we have and how Hawaii can also help Pacific Islands in
Oh, I
all
agree.
the infrastructure requirements, and even our industry, right? In terms of investment into the Pacific, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
So you talked about the Pacific Island Forum. So you were a moderator on one of the panels for one of the forums, challenges and opportunities in the Indo-Pacific. Tell us about that experience
Well,
moderating
well,
that.
well, that was uh, the Pacific Forum's
Oh, okay.
Honolulu Defense Forum. So Pacific Island Forum is the body of the Pacific Islanders, but the Pacific Forum,
Oh, okay.
runs the Honolulu Defense Forum that
Yeah.
was just here in January, and they did an extraordinary job. So I was just honored to be asked to moderate one of the panels that included Admiral Paparo, the
Mhm.
commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, who has responsibility of all U.S. forces from the California coast to the west
Mhm.
coast of India, and then the chief of the Self-Defense Forces of Japan, which is General Uchikura. And I've known him actually when he came here previously, when he was still the Joint Staff Strategic Plans and Policy for Japan Joint Staff. And so years later, I met with him, and he was on that panel. And General Browner, who is the chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and he was just here also speaking at the Asia Pacific, and he's alum of us. He's one of us. And so this panel was pretty high powered panel. I was really excited because we got to hear from them on, and this was a vision of the Pacific Forum, and they're, led by Dave Santoro and Kim Lin, who's the director, and Ralph Casa, who's great names in understanding the geopolitics. But talking about how they're working together, allies and partners, looking for challenges and opportunities, exercises that are enhanced, security
Mhm.
cooperation, integration, um, huge, huge steps from our days when we do Yamasakura. We went to
Oh,
Japan,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's you and I were there when. I mean, I went to a Yamasakura where we
Yeah.
had boards and we were using
Yes.
shuffles to where,
Acetate.
yeah,
Yeah,
acetate,
plastic acetate.
plastic
Yeah.
acetate, yes. But where they are today in terms of
Yeah.
high tech integration, looking at opportunities, including, some of the other opportunities is the I wanted to mention that one of the pivots that we're doing with the National Defense Strategy that's just come out is the Multinational Armaments Resilience Course, which is the first time
Oh.
we've done this. We just finished one in January, and we here in Hawaii we took 12 different nations from Piper countries, the partners of the Indo-Pacific Industrial
Mm.
Resilience that Secretary Hegseth talked about. He came and spoke to us in March to our alumni. And
Mhm.
then again in Shangri-La, he talked about this initiative to bring defense partners together to look at ways we can co-create, co-innovate, co-collaborate on increasing the defense industrial base. So, of the 4 weeks, one was in Washington, D.C. We took them to Australia, our partner, Japan, and in that grouping was the Assistant Secretary for Acquisitions of the Philippines. So, they were also here. And then the last week was here in Hawaii during the Honolulu Defense Forum run by the Pacific Forum. So, they were having that event. We were having this event. And we took them to places like OceanNet or other
Oh, yeah.
Hawaii based um,
Technological.
yeah, tech industry, including the University of
Yeah.
Hawaii, the shipyard, so that they could see this integration that, we have the capacity to do so well here. We are all here, military, industry, um, um, academia, the brain trust and possibilities are here. We
Yeah.
just gotta create. So it's stuff like what you all are doing at Macro that's allowing us to think about how do we do this better, especially
Yeah.
when we had opportunities during COVID, right? To
Oh, yes.
look at how we diversify Hawaii, and which you see the governor and the they're all wanting to think about these ways.
Mhm.
So the role that you all are playing in, like, here's another way.
Mhm.
We, whether it's the bringing up young people in Hawaii to be able to take these jobs, to look at ways we can integrate, we can be high tech, the critical infrastructure, the um, um, integration with the military, because from here, what a lot of people may not realize is all command and control, all U.S. forces across all the way from the west coast of India.
Yeah.
That's massive. If you think about the Pacific Ocean alone, you can fit several continents of the United States in the Pacific Ocean.
And still have leftover ocean.
That's right. It still have leftover ocean. Yes.
So big. Going back to Hawaii, what is these countries? What are their impressions? They come to Hawaii. They come from islands. Some of them are actually bigger or have more islands, their nations than the state of Hawaii. And then they realize the amount of activity here concerning security and the ability for Hawaii to be kind of that hub in the Indo-Pacific. How does that what kind of impressions do they have? And how do they take that back to their own islands? Do they see hope? Are they overwhelmed, or do they get motivated to think, hey, I can take some of these things that I'm learning here, especially from a smaller island, with in this Hawaiian culture, um, you know, and then take it back to my country.
I think that, some of the things that we do at APCSS, we educate, connect, and empower.
Mhm.
So that connection, the network that they leave with here is incredible. No matter who you talk to, that
Mhm.
comes out. Small Pacific island to large country like
Yeah.
India. That they all say that the network is what's powerful.
Mhm.
They meet people from every sector of security from various countries. Some of our larger classes, we might have up to 25 nations, including smaller Pacific islands, who come here. And then they get introduced to this place. They see what's possible, and we see what's possible. So
Mhm.
it's a learning both ways. I think that, being able to coexist with place, not having to, it's complex. You don't need to give up one over the other,
Mhm.
that the
Yes.
two can coexist,
Yeah.
to respect place and be inspired by it and look for the new
Yeah.
opportunities, to be
Exactly.
inspired by your past to thrust you to the future.
Yeah.
That traditional indigenous knowledge in the Pacific is very important, and that can be embraced and coupled with the new technology opportunities that are into the future, that those two can go together. And I think they see that when they come, and I'm also inspired by when they make the connection
Mhm.
to be able to do that.
That's awesome. And then the relationships you develop. Most people, or some people, may not understand the importance of the relationships. You highlighted that, concerning the connection. But I strongly believe that our success is based off the relationships we develop.
Yeah, and I want to just point out one of, on our website, if you want to talk about Pacific Islands, Tonga, for example,
Mhm.
and our own, Doug Carroll, he did a piece on one of our fellows who did looked at using resources that are available in the Pacific, and to be able to use that for infrastructure projects. And you can find it on our website. But solutions to problems. A problem that Tonga had, and Tonga just celebrated, by the way, their national security strategy that our team kind of helped
Oh, that's awesome.
to work with them. Same in the Philippines with their net assessment, looking at their national security policy. But here is this place where these ideas were sprung. And I like to think that it's this mana of the place that gives
Yeah.
ideas and brings down temperatures. You know, we've had, and even in our class, very fortunate to have had senior leaders from Thailand and Cambodia on days when it was erupting on the border,
Wow.
or both India and Pakistan in the same class, both from the army, to be able to be in the same class when things are blowing up on the border. And here in Hawaii, just to be in this place, to be able to have very cordial, collegial conversations, to understand one another's perspective, it allows you to do that.
Yeah. And for most of our audience who don't know about the international relations with, especially India and Pakistan, they've always had tensions.
Mm.
You know, and then just to have them in the same room is difficult enough. But because I think the way the APCS is, and because it's in Hawaii, um, it's a place, it's a safe space. I think then they all
Yeah.
agree to come to, especially with Thailand and Cambodia,
Yeah,
the tensions that's been occurring. That's
Yeah.
right over there. Um, that's pretty incredible to me that these countries would be willing to come and sit in the same room.
Yeah.
And we should be proud in Hawaii that it's us here in Hawaii at the APCSS that's facilitating all of this.
Yeah, and I feel like you know, we're one tool of many, so we have to work together with Indo-Pacific Command.
Mhm.
That's our primary mission partner.
Yeah.
Also, the Secretary of War in Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, that is who we get our guidance from, and we are a Department of War entity,
Mhm.
and we work together to bridge, and they bridge all the time. And I think that's why the Secretary came in March, and Assistant Secretary for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs is John No, and he helped us to make sure that we're aligned and we can be a bridge also here in Hawaii, us in partnership with all levels of not just military but the diplomatic. We just had the pre-regional ambassadors conference at APCSS where we had the ambassadors come and they got to talk, speak, and enjoy malasadas.
Oh, that's awesome. Malasadas. That's good. So before I close, I really want you to provide basically some mentorship to um, members of our audience who may um, be thinking, like a young woman or a young man who's saying, "Wow, um, should I or should not?" I know we talked about this a little, but what are your final thoughts and sayings that you could provide to someone who's thinking either a military career, a career in diplomacy, or in security studies?
I would say that for me, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't make that decision in 1986 and follow my dad's footsteps and my uncle's, to see that Hawaii has an important place to give, to protect, and that our role in the broader nation's defense and security is so important. And I wouldn't have been able to tell you that, what I'm saying now, in 1986, but there was something that I saw and I knew that was opportunity, not just for me, but what I could give.
Give back.
And so it's both. You know, givers gain, right? You give, you gain by giving. And that is a value that we have here, right? We're always serving auntie, uncle. We're doing those things. So, you know, we think about these young people who want to give. They want to make change. And this next generation, I see it. I see it as um, they've got so much information in their hands. And what do I do with all that? I feel like they have an opportunity to make leaps and bounds above. Look at these young people that I'm looking at here is, gosh, what they can do for Hawaii, what they can do for the nation, what they can do for the world. And this is a step very in the military to be able to see that in a different light that less than 1% of the US population gets to see.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 1%. And the 5% who are veterans. I feel we have a responsibility to share that knowledge, that ike, with the next generation. And it is not just one size fits all, because you need the whole, every part of the body to make a full body, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yes, exactly.
every part matters.
Yeah.
You can say that in logistics or an infantryman
Yeah,
or an intel
exactly.
officer. We all make up.
Individual, we cannot do anything in and of ourselves.
No.
We need a team
We do.
to work together with special skills and
Yeah.
focusing on certain areas.
And I can't imagine a better place to
Yeah.
learn discipline, to learn how to be part of a team, to learn that there are things bigger than yourself, bigger than you, when in a time when sometimes we just focus on me, right? That so I would encourage, look into it. Do not just watch the movies or media to make your decision. Actually talk to people. Talk to you know, aunties and uncles. I guess here in Hawaii you'd be uncle, I'd be auntie, you know, to talk about
Like kupuna already.
kupuna, you know, to talk about what is it. I love talking to some, you know, those who came before us. You know, I love listening to Alan Ho, right, Vietnam veteran. I love listening. Yes, and I gain so much. So thank you, young people, for thinking about it, because there's a lot of opportunity, and for what you do. You are our hope. You are our future. So we look forward to come talk story with us.
All right. Well, thank you for spending the time with us today out of your busy schedule, and
No, it's
we
an
appreciate
honor.
you sharing your knowledge, your mana'o, and hopefully our audience can gain something out of our conversation here. Thank you very
Mahalo
much.
nui.
Mahalo nui.
Thank you. Thanks so much.